Okay. We're back. I ran out of battery. Okay. So we have just created the bottom of the muffin here. This is centered. And so now we're going to learn how to open this up. So what I like to do is find the center with my thumbs here. And my hands are very lightly touching the side, just for my stability. My arms and my elbows are on my legs. And I find the center by slowly pushing my right thumb into the middle. And if my right thumb is in the middle and it's not wobbling, then I'm going down in the center. If it's wobbling, then I'm not in the center and I have to put a little force on it to find the center. Okay, so I sink my thumb down in until I hit the knuckle. If you have really long distance from the tip of your thumb to your knuckle, maybe stop halfway, but I have tiny little top knuckles. I never realized that, but I do. I have tiny little top knuckle. So that's my marker. I stop at the knuckle. And then I use my middle finger and I drop that down in. Look at the positioning of my hands here. I'm not grabbing the side of my piece. I am just using my fingertips to lightly anchor the stableness of my body. I want to be stable. And then I always call it triangulating, where I'm kind of hooking my fingers together. It's a lot more stable than this, or anything where I'm just kind of flying out there without any connection. So now I'm going to go down a little further, and I want to stop. And for you guys, you want to stop about an inch away from the bottom. And you might ask yourself, well, how am I supposed to know how far away from the bottom it is? Well, you take your needle tool and you stop your wheel. Excuse me, I still have my Kathleen Turner voice. Stop your wheel. And then you want to drop it down until you can hear it hit the base, and then you put your finger down at the bottom of your clay base and you pull the needle tool out, and you can see it's about an inch or 3/4 of an inch. Okay, that's your marker. Then you want to seal that little hole up. Now, if I were throwing this, I would go down a little further because I don't really need an inch, but when you first start throwing, you have a tendency to rip a bunch of clay off the bottom. So it's just safe to have an inch there. All right, so now I'm going to open up my piece. So stability, again, I've got my middle finger down in here, and I'm using this as my tool, and I'm using this as my force. I'm actually going to pull on my hand this way. All right, make sure that it's nice and wet on the inside there, and I'm going to start dragging my finger across the bottom perpendicular to the wall towards 4 o'clock, and I want to open it up halfway. At this point, I do something called centering the wall. Now, this part could become off center as you're making your base wider. In fact, it probably will, and that's why I center the wall. So I pinch, take my left hand, and I do a little bit of a pinch. Not too skinny, you guys, just like that, because you don't really want to throw the wall up. You don't want to pull the wall up. You just want to center the clay and make it a little bit more stable. You're just keeping it in the center is what you're doing. All right, so I'm going to open my base up a little bit more, reminding you that your clay is going to shrink. It shrinks when it dries, and it shrinks in the kiln. So this clay is going to be about 15% smaller. Your piece is going to be 15% smaller when you're done. So you want to make it a little bit bigger than you would really want it to be when you're throwing on the wheel. Okay, I'm going to pull my base out a little bit wider. Now that's as wide as I want to go. I'm going to center my wall again. Before I make a pull up, I always want to make sure that my wall is nice and stacked and centered. It just makes for an easier transition when I pull the clay up into the wall. All right, next step. Get that water out of the bottom. Put the sponge down in there and just pick up that water, that slurry, and squeeze it out. Okay, then I'm going to drag my finger along the bottom of the base. Here. Okay, and for stability, I've got this hand on top of this hand. And I'm actually pushing with this hand down. And this is my tool, this is my force. I'm going to drag it along the base, and I'm going to pinch off the clay that's in the middle there. I'm going to have that on my finger, put it in my spot bucket. And I do this at least 6 times. I do this for several reasons. I'm going to stop talking now because I can't even